that can come out to Hagerstown and shake some hands, the more pressure, because we can parlay that into see American people. We were your Pony Express, bringing your messages to Washington, D.C. Matter, they're here, they're coming out, they're shaking hands. Call your representatives and use that power of having you come out and shake some hands. All of them, everyone.
All right.
Look,
So let's go back to this because I want to make sure that we're having a productive meeting or just a meeting.
I want to answer your question. So,
Thank you.
So you asked.
They want you to answer my question.
You asked if this is just the meeting to spread a bunch of hot air or not, and I want to be very clear. The people at this, the people that have offered the amendments, that have supported the amendments to ban or block vaccine mandates, to remove mask requirements and other things. We're the people that have done that. Unfortunately, we're in the minority right now. So we're being told by President Biden, we're being told by Nancy Pelosi what's going to happen, including, like I said, up until last week, that we even had to wear masks. We're mandated to wear masks on the House floor, to where people, we're threatened with fines. They have imposed all sorts of restrictions on us that we've never seen before. I have been told the only way I can go to certain meetings with the administration is but we, the four of us, the Republican minority in the House right now to reverse these things. We don't. And so
who are the folks though that sit, maybe lean to the left side of the aisle, that can get it through their right issue or left issue, and that this is an American issue, that this is on a global scale a violation of your God-given rights? Who there's got to be folks on the left.
Well,
there's got to be folks on the left that we could have a sit down like this with together, the four of you and four of them, somebody to start building that connection, to start changing the minds of them. I mean, this is, we're knocking on the back door here.
I mean, I think as Sam said, I think that, going through and looking at the votes on this, and you see who it is. I mean, it's basically all party line votes on these.
But if the science, it's a simple thing. Everything here turns on the actual science. When they talk about follow the science, I have to tell you, what has happened in the United States government over the last 2 years, they've never followed the science. They've interpreted the science the way they wanted. The CDC and the NIH has failed the American people. So I'm saying, if the science says there's no evidence to support these mandates today, and I challenge anyone who's listening to me, bring anything you want. I have it all here because I work with it daily. So if the science says none, something other than science is at play here. Oh, yeah. You need to tell them that on the floor.
It's all about power control.
Yes.
It's all about power control.
Will you deliver that?
And one thing I've always said, there's consequences to elections, and before the last part of my stumps, you're seeing the consequences. The other side, the Democrats, control of the federal government. They have the executive branch, they have the entire Congress, and House and Senate, and that's what we're seeing.
But you have the people.
But you have the.
That's what we'll see.
I guess we're going to be hanging out on the Beltway until November.
No, because it can't wait till November.
No.
And I think that the thing is that what you understand you watch other foreign governments weaponize this in their own House, Congress, their power structures to prevent the opposing party from showing up to even make a like Australia, New Zealand, and other. If you watch this happen,
We're aware of it. We're aware of it.
Well,
the Speaker puts on the floor what she
Right.
wants to vote on. We don't have that ability to put stuff on the floor.
so I think that part of the issue is where have the spines gone? Not to be, this is a perception issue, and right, there's a legitimate question: is at what point is there enough? Does it become tyrannical enough where even the people who are in the minority rise up and say, "Oh hell no"?
Well, you're starting to see that. You're starting to see that.
Well, I don't think
we starting to see it?
I don't think starting. I think it's been going on. It's just that under the rules of the House, without the majority of votes, you get told what to do, and that's what we've been facing.
But your public uprising, starting to see that. And I think that's one reason why the mask came off in the House of Representatives last Monday, because it was politically, the polling was showing they were in trouble.
Yeah, the polls went down. The masks.
Masking of our children. know what
Yeah,
all the
it's
problems
awful,
that causes in their social upbringing and but you got some states that have done a lot better job of getting away with these mandates, and some states are still doing it, even though their leaders, get caught doing the opposite of what they say.
But what you're saying though is when you're not in control and you're in the minority, you see there's a problem with the logical leap of saying that you would permit tyranny in the absence of control. You have a choice too. In the American people, we got to wait. The American people have to get that pissed, which is to say, oh hell no. Hollering or but maybe you got to break some rules. Maybe you got to get loud. Maybe you got to boycott it. Maybe you have to say none of these laws are invalid, because at what point do you, our elected officials, say this isn't a constitutional republic anymore if the majority uses some weaponized system against the minority to effectively make it irrelevant?
How bad it's been. Anybody who has COVID, they were saying, you couldn't come anywhere near this building, everything else. Yet, do you know that Speaker Pelosi actually built a chamber on the House floor,
Up in the balcony.
a chamber to allow for COVID-positive members of Congress to come through the Capitol onto the House floor, in the House chamber, in order to vote to make one. The vote was? It was to elect her Speaker of the House.
That's right.
That was the only.
I watched that.
That is, did not tell us anything. We walk in one day, there's a plexiglass chamber up
No
there.
kidding.
So keep in mind, all of these
Yeah.
drastic efforts to
Jim Jordan
keep COVID out of here and, mask and everything else, yet inviting, facilitating to the House chamber, so she can be elected Speaker of the House. And our attending physician, our sergeant at arms, all of these people were complicit in this.
Right.
And she had to do that because that's before they brought in proxy voting.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
what
think-
other proxy voting do they
No,
do?
you can't proxy for
You
Speaker.
can't proxy.
Yeah, that's
That's
why,
right.
because you can't proxy for Speaker.
And I think there are examples, and I know you see it. I think the question is like before the American people's blood boils and it becomes a thing, and you need the support, you need an awakening, not wokeness. Totally get it. But even within the party, even permitting this to devolve into that kind of, you realize they're forcing you, and it prejudices your right to represent the people, right? Ultimately, it does.
Well, you're seeing, I'm old enough to remember in the 1960s, we had, well, it turned into riots, but it was protests originally on two issues, civil rights and Vietnam War. And the people spoke up, and I think, as I remember right, LBJ didn't run again because of the pressure that was put on. They speak of elections, but they also, hopefully, peaceful protests, it doesn't turn into riots, and the elected. And the problem is, if there's one side of the aisle that's.
So real quick, and then I'll finish. I might not finish, but I'll try. So if Woody Allen famously said, "Every time I shut the door in reality, it comes in through the window." We know what would help you, which was the elections, right? Because you get what you vote for. And I think that, thank God, people are waking up to that. But if American people can't wait until the elections, because there's a group that's here for accountability, Constitution. What are your recommendations about the best path forward to accomplish it?
Look, all of us, Republicans, Democrats, we're all sent here to represent people. Right now, I think Speaker Pelosi mandating down to her members and effectively then to all the people of America what's going to happen. I think that flipping that equation around and the people that are opposing some of our efforts to respect the Constitution and promote freedom, you've got to get people to rise up and say, this is how I want to be represented. And, you saw, as Congressman Gibbs mentioned, you saw the mask mandate for us be lifted because of public pressure and public perception. I think that there's got to be more communications to, and I want to be really clear, not in any way suggesting any type of violence, but just clear communication that you're not representing me. You're not. And I think